So hi everyone, I'm Hayley Thomas and I am Head of Corporate Fundraising at Alder Children's Charity, which I always refer to as the best job in the world, and I'll tell you a little bit about that a bit later on. But I come from West Kirby on the Wirral, and I've lived on the Wirral all my life, but I actually went to university in Aberystwyth, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but I did history at university. So a lot of people ask me how I actually got into corporate fundraising from there. And I've done quite a lot of different things, so I thought it would be useful to talk through that, because I probably haven't had a conventional route into corporate fundraising, but that's not to say that you can't go straight into fundraising out of university, or come into it later on in life as well. So I went to, as I say, Aberystwyth University, did history, but that was probably 15 years ago now, and there wasn't really that much career advice and support that I found from school or in university. So I didn't really know what to do, so I just picked a subject that I thought I'd be really interested in, and that I'd like to do for 3 years, and then I could figure out exactly what I wanted to do. So I did that. Didn't really figure that out in the 3 years that I was at university, but I did really enjoy studying history at that point. So I think I found it really difficult, and I don't know whether the young people who are watching today are finding it difficult now, but a lot of people that I knew really knew what they wanted to do, and I was really jealous of people who wanted to be vets or doctors or policemen or policewomen, and knew what they wanted to do with their life. But I really didn't. All I knew was I wanted to experience the world a little bit and do a bit of travelling as well. So I applied to be cabin crew for British Airways, and got through their intake process, which I was really pleased about, and moved to London straight after university to become cabin crew. So I did that for probably about 8 months, something like that. But felt like living in London wasn't really the right thing for me. I did do a lot of travelling with the airline, but unfortunately it just wasn't really for me. So I packed up and moved home, and then started working at Liverpool Football Club in the customer services team. So that was a job that I just saw and thought, I need a job at the moment, I'll jump into that. And it was brilliant. It was a really fantastic place to work. I really enjoyed it, but I wanted to do something different, and I really wasn't sure what. But my first experience of charity fundraising was through my dad, actually. So my dad used to fundraise for the Roy Castle Lung Cancer Foundation, and that was in memory of his friend who died from lung cancer. And they used to do a what they called a ladder climb in the centre of Liverpool. So for George Henry Lees, for anybody who remembers that, they used to do a ladder climb, and they do as many times up the ladder into George Henry Lees and back down, and they used to raise thousands and thousands of pounds doing that. So for me, that was really the first sort of insight into fundraising that I'd had, and I used to go along and hold the buckets and try and help out. So I started volunteering at Roy Castle, which was really interesting, and I knew from starting that I really wanted to help people and get into fundraising as well. So luckily a job came up in the running team, and I got the job after going for a couple of interviews. I think it really helped having that volunteering experience to get into that role as well. And I was just really passionate about it, and I think that, well, I hope that came across, and I just jumped straight in, and that was just a brilliant first fundraising job. We used to get to go to the London Marathon and do cheer points all across London. We used to go to the Great North Run, so Newcastle, and take sports therapists with us and just meet all the incredible people who'd fundraise and work really hard throughout the months before to raise so much money for the charity, whilst also taking on a huge challenge for them as well. Especially the London Marathon people, they used to I think they used to spend 6 to 8 months solidly fundraising and running and trying to get themselves into a good position for the race. So that was a real highlight of my career, working on the London Marathon. We used to get hundreds and hundreds of applications for that, and it would be lovely to read all the stories and why people wanted to run for us as a charity. It was the most difficult decision trying to pick those people, because we only had a certain amount of places, but that was really, really rewarding, and I got to know people really, really well, from what they'd done and all the fundraising events that they held and I got to go to. So I really, really enjoyed that job. I think for me, the difficulty with that was I then wanted management experience and I wanted to do something a little bit different, and try some new fundraising departments and just see what would work for me. And that was when I'd seen the job at Alder as Corporate Fundraising Officer. The corporate fundraising officer job was just fantastic. Going into a new role when we just started fundraising for a capital appeal for the new hospital, which we're now in 5-6 years later. It was just a totally different environment, something totally different to kind of get my teeth into, and it was just brilliant. So I absolutely loved that job. And at that time, we only had 2 corporate fundraisers. So it was a very, very busy role. And luckily, we've been able to expand the team, and we've been able to do much more. And I've managed to work through the last few years, and to get to head of corporate fundraising, which is what I am now. So the team at Thrive have asked a couple of questions just in terms of my job. What's a typical day in work? I actually don't have a typical day at all, which is what I really love. Every day is really different, and I know that sounds really cliche, but it is. You never know what's going to happen in a day. And there's so many different things that we do as well. So corporate partners who we fundraise with come up with the most incredible ideas. And one of them that comes to mind is the plane pull that we did with Liverpool John Lennon Airport, who have been fantastic supporters of us for a number of years now. But they came up with the idea because a couple of other airports had done them in the past. And it was one of those days that was really special, seeing a team of people pull a Boeing 747, I think it was, or a huge airplane anyway. Seeing them pull a plane down a runway was just fantastic, and then pitch themselves against a number of other companies just to raise money for us was fantastic. And the funniest bit of the day was when they pulled one of the planes into a bit of a dip in the concrete where they were. So one of the teams was just really struggling with pulling it. So that was a really hilarious part of the day, and the team got to do it again. But it was just such a different thing to do, which was brilliant. And all the corporate partners that we work with do so many different things. We obviously have our Matalan Campaign, which is the best campaign that we do every year. It's really exciting working on it in the lead up to it. We do different types of pajamas every year, and being able to connect with customers and fundraisers, and people who are Matalan shoppers as well, being able to connect with all of those different people through the pajama campaign, which really sells what we do as a charity and always focuses on a certain element of fundraising that we're doing. So whether it's a project like the mental health campaign, or whether it's going to be our new neonatal campaign, there's always something behind it, and you can really see the impact of what that money is going to support. I think for me, the difference that we make is we get to see the impact of the money that we raise making the best experience possible for the children who come to Alder Hey, and their families as well. So in terms of impact, I can see that every day, and that's what really inspires me to do what I do. We fundraise for a lot of different things across the hospital, but in terms of the kind of overarching areas, we have 4 different areas. So we support the campus, so we're building around the hospital at the moment. Last year we supported the Alder Centre, which is our bereavement centre, and is a bespoke unit that just looks incredible now. It's got lovely counselling rooms, lovely gardens for people to go and reflect in, and a really gorgeous area called the Heart Space. So people can go in there, they can have a cup of tea, they don't have to talk to anybody, but it's somewhere where they can go and feel comfortable. So that was a really, really poignant project for us as a charity. We're also currently supporting the build of the mental health unit, the residential mental health unit, which is going to be one of 6 in the country, and it's going to be fantastic, a fantastic environment, really bespoke, as I said, with the Alder Centre. And I think for us, we can see that that's going to really make a difference to the children who use that. And for the staff as well. So things like that are really, really important to me. It's seeing those projects come to life and really benefit the patients and their families is fantastic. We also support research and innovation. We support specialist medical equipment, and also what we call the magic. So the things that really make it feel like a children's hospital, the things that make that experience for those children the best it can be when they come to Alder Hey. And that's why I do what I do. I just love seeing the impact every day. And then just in terms of what's fun about my job, so as I said, there's so much variety, so many different things that we do, and you can really make it what you want. So we are a really fun organisation. We tend to push the boundaries a little bit and do things a little bit differently, but we really engage with the people who donate to us and who partner with us. So creating things like our Johnson's Baby campaign, where they're donating 5p per pack for every Alder Hey pack that's sold, and really being able to share the stories from the hospital through campaigns like that are just brilliant, and they make doing what we do really special. I'm trying to think of some other examples of things that we've done, because there's just so many. I mean, dressing up as Ollie the elephant is one of the highlights, I think. Ollie the elephant is our mascot and goes along to different events and things. So we always get somebody along in Ollie the elephant. And you can be writing a contract one day in my job, or dressing as Ollie the elephant the other day. And I think that's what makes it so exciting for me, is that you can really create what you want to create as a job role, and it's really flexible. It's a fantastic team to work with. Everybody is really behind what we do, and really works together as a team. So it's a lovely place to work. It's lovely going into work, even though we haven't been able to over the last 12 months. But the team is just brilliant, and as I say, we work really, really well together. In terms of how you could potentially get into fundraising, as I say, there's lots of different ways. I probably didn't do it the conventional way, but there's lots of people who get into fundraising later on in life, but there's also people who know that that's exactly what they want to do, so they get involved in university rag groups and things like that. They'll fundraise at university, they might do an internship at a charity, they could just do some volunteering and get to know the charity and get some experience, and then go into working in that charity, or obviously applying for other jobs. But you don't have to have any qualifications. I think that's the great thing. You can go into fundraising, and as long as you have that drive, have that enthusiasm, work hard, a lot of the time you can do really, really well. You just have to show that you're really passionate about what you do. And that's what I really like about it. It's open to everybody. So anybody who's interested in volunteering or fundraising, just wants to know a little bit more about charity and how you can get into charity work, I'd be more than happy to speak to you, tell you a little bit more about what I've done, and just give you a little bit of a steer or any tips. You might even want to volunteer in our charity shop, which we've got in Old Swan, and opened a couple of years ago. So there's lots and lots of different options, and as I say, it's a fantastic career, really, really varied. You really get to put your own stamp on it, and I think for me that's the best thing about it. It's not like any other job, and it's just really, really interesting. You do get to meet some incredible people, and you get to make an incredible impact. So it's well worth looking into if it's something that you're even a little bit interested in. And it's just, yeah, as I say, brilliant, the best job in the world.